Welcome back to Sports Time HQ. I am your host, Fernando. Joined with me today is both our co-hosts. Yep, you heard it. Keith is back. Welcome back, Keith. Gary, of course, you're back again. But Keith, how you doing?
I'm good. Glad to be back. Good week of football in the books for my team, anyways. So I'm happy out. But yeah, glad to be back on.
Gary, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, Freddie. How about you?
We're riding the number one overall pick. That's what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Keith still has somehow a playoff chance with the team 49ers, I think, right now top of the division 3-3.
I mean, where are we? We're 4-3. I don't know. We must be up there too. But something. we bet your cousin pretty convincingly. We kind of bashed him, which was nice to see. It was good to see our defense turn up as well. So yeah, I was happy. I mean, we could go out next week and lose. It's against the Bills, so it's probably going to happen. But yeah, we're very much up and down at the moment. But yeah, it's not going too bad.
Honestly, it was pretty shocking because I had Kirk Cousins as in the Falcons my lock of the week.
Oh, we lost Fernando.
Well, that's a pretty bad pick then.
If you had the Falcons as lock of the week, I mean, I didn't think the Seahawks were that bad. I wasn't surprised they won, but I didn't think that'd be a lock of the week that they'd
happen.
I don't know. We're going on about your pretty bad lock of the week with the Falcons. I didn't think the Seahawks are that bad that the Falcons should be a lock.
Oh my goodness! I thought the Falcons were good enough for it. I thought they would have been good enough.
Oh, you got it wrong. Your cousin didn't turn up, Fernando.
No, he did not, which was pretty sad. But hey, congrats to your Seahawks. You guys still have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's just win as many games as possible. If you make the playoffs by some miracle, it's not going to go anywhere. So, just have the best season you can.
Yeah, I mean, you have the best chance between us three for the teams anyways. I mean,
right now that wouldn't be hard.
That's very true. That is very, very true. Speaking of injuries and all that, let's go to some news and notes around the league. Let's start first. Last week's of the London games, Patriots, Jaguars. Let's go right into how bad the Patriots are. But here's the thing. I think I'm okay with it because of the fact that we're going to go and get Travis Hunter, whether it's the number one overall pick or number two overall pick. Personally, I think we should get the number one overall pick, trade back to the number two where the Browns are going to be. And we get some capital. You guys get Shedeur Sanders. We get Travis Hunter. We're all happy.
That wouldn't make any sense because are you guys going to take Shedeur Sanders?
No, but we could trade with some other team.
I mean, I guess, but you wouldn't be number two.
Okay. You don't know. Well, all right. So say maybe you're number three and there's a defensive team at number two. I'm just saying. What if the Jaguars end up at number two somehow?
Well, I mean, I would.
They need defense.
Yeah. But
or a quarterback, I mean.
I don't know. I think that wherever we're going to be at is fine because I don't really know what we want to do. I've actually seen some rumors that we also might want to take Travis Hunter, which I just would not want to do, obviously. I also don't.
Ride or die with Deshaun Watson.
No. Yeah, I've actually seen some rumors that we're thinking of extending him. Like, why? It makes absolutely no sense. This is pre-injury, which still doesn't make any sense, but if there ever were a chance, that's got thrown out the window. So I hope and would assume that we end up going with a quarterback, whether it's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, whoever. At the same time, I don't know if Travis Hunter should be the projected number one overall pick, honestly, at least not until we hear what he plans on doing, because right now he says he wants to play both sides of the ball, but I just don't think that's going to happen. No. I don't think it's going to work out. I think that he knows that. He's just trying to, play the social media role, I guess. So we'll see how that goes. But I think if he does just play defensive back, which I think he's going to, I don't think the Patriots should draft him at all. I mean, I don't think that's what their need is right now, and they should trade back, get Will Campbell or whoever's the next best available tackle in the draft. Drake May looks good so far, I think that you guys can actually make the wide receiver core work for a year or two. So I think that you need to build the foundation in that offensive line.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Keith, you're riding out Geno, of course.
We're riding out Geno. I mean, I would like to see us get a quarterback at some stage that's an upgrade on Geno and Sam Darnold. I mean, we're not going to go anywhere in terms of playoffs with these, or not Sam Howell even. We're not going to go into a deep run of the playoffs with these guys. So, I mean, I'd like us to get some sort of a quarterback going forward. Whether that happens now, I'm not sure.
I might not have been paying attention too much to what's been going around the league, but I, for one, was surprised to see Geno Smith leads the league in passing yards.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, but he's so, like, if you watch Seahawks games, he's so frustrating. It's so up and down. It's not consistent at all. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like big plays to save him because, he screwed up a 10-yard throw to a wide open DK or something. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. It's like his numbers are definitely good, but they're, they don't match back to the performance.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, you guys will definitely need it. He is an aging quarterback. You guys definitely need someone.
Yeah. I mean, his story is unreal. Like, that's the best thing with Geno, I think, his story. And he is a competent, QB. Don't get me wrong. It's just that if you want to go to that next level, you got to get some more better.
I mean, we were just talking, like, a year or two ago, whether or not you guys should sign him. You guys should extend him and everything. And here we are. I mean, you guys still are in the playoff hunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see.
Speaking of playoff hunt, unfortunately, Kansas City is the last team undefeated. So do you guys think that they're going to go undefeated all the way? You think this is the season they're going to try and do it, and they might do it?
I wouldn't be surprised because I still don't think they look very good, but they still manage to win games, and they know how to win games. I mean, the 49ers blew it up this week in terms of, players getting injured, and Purdy was awful. I mean, I get he was down to backups at one stage, but like Purdy just looked bad. But yeah, like I've been saying from the word go that I don't think they'll, it's a hard to go 3 in a row, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. But they don't look like the team, that they have been the last few years. I don't think Mahomes is playing to that level either, but they're still getting wins. So as long as they keep getting the W, I mean, they're going to be happy.
And Gary, before you chip in here, Patrick Mahomes has 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He has more interceptions than touchdowns. The only QBs with 2+ more interceptions than touchdowns this season, Gardner Minshew, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson. Just an FYI.
I mean, I was actually going to input something about the fact that, he's got more picks and touchdowns. It was just crazy to think that you have that quarterback doing that and you're still 6-0. So it's scary, honestly, to see that they're 6-0 and Patrick Mahomes is not playing like Patrick Mahomes. Just wait until he does. Also, they have Hollywood Brown out right now. I'm not sure what the timetable is on him. I don't know if he's done for the year. I don't think he is. I think he's going to come back later. But they don't have him right now. Kelsey and Mahomes are on the same page. The defense still looks good as usual. But I think it's scary to think that they're undefeated and, we're 6-7 weeks in and they're not even close to what they look like usually.
Yeah, exactly. Reading off what the playoff picture currently looks like, first in the AFC down from top to bottom. Kansas City, of course, number 1. Then the Texans. Then the Ravens, Bills, Steelers at 5, Colts at 6, and 7 is Bo Nix and those Broncos.
Colts and the Broncos, like really?
Yeah.
I mean, that Broncos defense is definitely helping Bo Nix. I mean, I think Bo Nix is doing okay for, starting first year and all that stuff, but I mean, that defense is carrying them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. The AFC, or at least right now, looks terrible. Pretty opposite of what a lot of people thought, I guess. At least what I thought. I didn't think that. I thought the Colts might sneak in as the 7 seed, but they haven't looked good, and I'm surprised that they're the 6 seed. The Broncos, I agree that offense is terrible. As solid as Bo Nix has looked, the offense is not good. The defense is stout, though. I will shout them out.
Mm-hmm.
But those are two teams that right now you wouldn't expect they would be remotely close to the playoff race. But they are. They're both 3-3 or something like that, I believe. So yeah, it's definitely a tight race in the AFC. Not a good one, I would say. But I think that any of the teams looking right now that are like 2-5 or whatever it is, they could sneak in as one of those bottom two seeds.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all kind of surprised with that so far. And this is not throwing shade on you, Gary, but we all had the Browns. Like they're for me are the biggest. I know there was question marks on Deshaun Watson, but for me, they're the biggest surprise that it's just been like, okay, you can blame Deshaun Watson, but it's not like your defense has been brilliant either. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a whole team effort has been terrible so far. And it's just going to be, riding it out now. But I think we all had the Browns sneaking in there. And like on paper, definitely, I would say the Browns are better than the Colts, the Broncos, you know what I mean?
Right,
to get in there, So, it's just kind of the way it goes, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say the Browns, Bengals, and Jets were like three. I think there are three teams that I had going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right now, none of them are there.
Same. Yeah.
So
same. And I think the reason why the Colts are still in it is because of Joe Flacco. I think Joe Flacco's helped the Colts and have that opportunity to be in that playoff hunt still. They're sitting at 4-3. So are the Broncos. Right outside that is the Chargers, Bengals, and shockingly enough, the Dolphins still in it.
Crazy.
And obviously, we'll talk about Tua in a little bit. Going on to the NFC from top to bottom, the Lions, Vikings, Lions, Commanders technically are at 2. Shocking, right? I know. 3 is Seattle Seahawks. Number 4 is the Atlanta Falcons. And then we go the Vikings, Green Bay, and the Chicago Bears. Right now, Philadelphia is out, but they're outside looking in. Them along Tampa Bay and Dallas. Yeah,
like the teams that are in there, okay, maybe not us, but outside the rest, if everybody stayed fit and healthy, that'd be good. I mean, there's some good teams. I know, like this stuff about Jalen Daniels and all, like he got injured this past week, but I think there are some pretty solid teams, and we'd have some interesting games in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think that, like I already mentioned this, I'm gonna bring it up again. I think a lot of people or the public vote was that the NFC was going to be pretty weak this year. It was literally the complete opposite. I mean, you just need 3 of those teams that are outside looking in the Eagles, Cowboys, Buccaneers, and even San Fran. They're not in there either. All those teams we thought were going to be, top 10 teams in the league or something like that. And right now they're not even in the playoff picture. So it is crazy to see that, like, we're not even halfway through the league or through the year, and predictions are already thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Jets looking terrible too. But that's all for news and notes. We'll get into injuries. Quick little note though, by the way, bye week. This is the first week in a couple weeks that we've got no one on a bye week. So we got a full slate of games this week. And now let's get into the brutal week of injuries. I'll just go down the list and you guys tell me what's your key takeaway of one of the injuries. Deshaun Watson, torn Achilles, he's out for the season. Brandon Ayuk, torn ACL and MCL, out for the season. Chris Godwin, dislocated ankle, going for surgery. He is officially out for the season. Mike Evans, hamstring injury. He's getting an MRI today. Will be determined on how much he will be missing time. Deebo was hospitalized due to pneumonia. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Jaden Daniels, week to week with a rib injury. Team is hopeful that he can play in week 8. Tua, he is back and playing, planning on practicing on Wednesday after suffering concussion back on September 12th, so just over a month after. Aiden O'Connell, fractured thumb, out 4 to 6 weeks. And lastly, DK Metcalf, week to week with a grade 1 sprained MCL.
Yeah, I'll jump in quick. The one that sticks out to me, I think, is the Godwin one because he was on pace for a career year. That guy was balling out. Evans, I think, he won't be that bad. He tries to play through everything. So I think they will have him back, but I think Godwin's going to be the big miss for them. I mean, like I'd say most people looking at this are looking at Ayuk, but Ayuk wasn't contributing a whole lot, like, since the new contract, everything. And I expect Debo will be fine, maybe misses this week or something, But I think the Godwin one sticks out to me.
I definitely agree. I was going to say the tandem actually of Godwin and Evans, because I think it's like a trickle-down effect. You look at how good both of those guys are playing, and now that, Godwin's done for the season, for the time that Mike Evans plays, how productive is he going to be in the time that he's not playing, obviously? Is Baker going to have the same production? Who's going to step up in that Buccaneers wide receiver room? Is it going to be even tougher to run the ball because there aren't so many wide receiver weapons? I think there's a lot of question marks right now in the Buccaneers offense that definitely need to be answered. However, it's tough because they just have had some bad luck.
Injury plague strikes again, from what Tactical says in the comments. We saw this in the beginning of the season, a bunch of different injuries. I think, again, like you guys said, the Bucs really being the most concerning. I saw a meme with how Baker Mayfield plays after these two are out, and it's him in a Carolina Panthers uniform. So I thought it was really funny. Could have put a Browns uniform too if you wanted to. But I think that's definitely one of the biggest injuries concerns is the team in general, how the team's production will be, especially because they have been winning recently. Also is the 49ers. They've just season after season, it's just injury after injury. Yeah. Brandon Ayuk now torn ACL and MCL after getting that big contract, being out for the year. And then, of course, we got Debo. Will he miss another week? And then Juwan Jennings, he's had concerns on question marks concerning injuries back and forth, but he should be good. CMC's injury. I mean, it's just injury roundabout with this team. So I think it's really the 49ers who are still trying to get into the playoffs. And of course, the Buccaneers. Those are the two biggest team injuries that I want to watch out for. Also, DK Metcalf. That's Gino's top target. Mm-hmm. If DK misses a week, I want to see how Gino's going to play. Will Jackson Smith and Jigba be the guy? Or will he have to look for someone else? Maybe Tyler Lockett as well.
Yeah, they sound optimistic enough right now about DK. It didn't look great at the time, I have to say, being carted off, but they're fairly optimistic right now. But if DK is out, I'd say Tyler Lockett definitely gets an uptick. So will JSN, but I think Tyler Lockett just slots into that wide receiver one.
Yeah, for sure. Optimistic that CMC comes back soon for them. He is expected to practice this week, no? He's practicing this week, if I'm correct. I don't know if he's going to play this week. I don't think he should play this week. I think he should take as much time.
I think they said it's a long shot this week. There are Sunday Night Football from Burek against the Cowboys. I think it's a long shot this week. There's a good chance next week. And if it's not then, I would imagine it's, what are we on then? Week 10. He'll definitely be back by then unless something.
Yeah, because I would say, so this is week 8 upcoming. Their bye week is next week 9. So I would just say, just take these next 2 weeks off and then see how we week 10, and we'll go on from there.
Great.
Lastly, before we jump into the quarterbacks, what's your thoughts on a doubleheader on Monday Night Football? We've had it a couple times now. What's your thoughts on it? Do you like it? Not like it.
I don't like it unless they space it out better. Like go 5 EST and then have the regular one at whatever it is, 8:15. I mean, they must be losing viewers. I get people are setting up multiple screens and all that stuff, but I don't see how it works out. It doesn't. I don't really like it. I'd rather watch 2 games 2 separate times.
Exactly.
I definitely agree with that, and it's also the fact that last night's game, the Chargers and Cardinals, was on ESPN Plus. No one's going to pay for that.
No. It was terrible as well compared to the other game.
Yeah, exactly. No one's going to watch that. It's almost like the NFL wants people to use pirated sites. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And I certainly agree with spacing out the games because an hour in between, it doesn't really intrigue me that much.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me because I'm sleeping. I'm just watching the highlights. But I mean, I agree. I just don't think, for instance, today I was watching the highlights and I'm picking the best game that I want to watch the highlights on. And obviously that was the Ravens Bucks. I'm not going to watch the Chargers and Cardinals.
Oh, there must have been 2 highlights to that. Murray's run and then probably the kick to win it was probably the highlights.
Literally, those are the two things that I watched. I literally watched a 17-minute highlight of the big game, Ravens Bucks, and then like a 10-minute highlight of the Chargers Cardinals, which I didn't end up actually watching the whole thing. I just watched the last like 2 minutes of it. So
That's all you need to watch.
exactly. You guys got any more news or notes?
It just popped up there real quick that Jalen Daniels is a major doubt for this weekend because that game got flexed. So because they're against the Bears to prime time. So, but it looks like now he's a major doubt. So one to follow.
Oh.
Crazy to think that they flexed it for the number 1, number 2, and then now he might not play.
Yeah, and the game they flexed it from could have been good too. It was the Bengals and Philly. Like that still could have been a good two teams. So they're struggling, looking for wins.
Right. It's all right. It's all right. Don't tell Katie, but Bengals, you know. I don't know. But all right. Gary, you got anything else?
Not that I can think of.
All right, let's go into the quarterback situation for the waiver wire. You know, as much as I was a big Justin Fields believer, Russell Wilson did play very, very good. I mean, the guy balled out. He had 24 points. Up until Monday Night Football, he was a QB1. It wasn't until Baker Mayfield and, of course, Lamar Jackson took over as the QB1 and 2 of the week. But Russell Wilson, you know, I think what helped him the most was that 1-yard rushing touchdown, which definitely helped his stat go up. But I think if he continues to play like this, I mean, this is a guy that you're going to have to go get off the waivers. He's going against the Giants next week. Giants suck. Let's be real. The Giants are terrible. Jalen Hurts balled out last week against it. Also Saquon Barkley too. But if you look at the Steelers' remaining schedule for the quarterback position, it's a very, very favorable matchups. I mean, they got the bye week right after. But then they got Washington, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland again. Sorry, Gary. But those are the next matchups that are just really, really good matchups for the quarterback position in Pittsburgh. So if it is Russell Wilson moving forward, I'm all in on Russell Wilson. And you saw those touch passes that he was doing. It was just perfect touch passes versus Justin Fields. He was just, you know, come on. It was good touch passes versus Justin Fields. He can't really do a touch pass. He just throws just a snipe down the sideline. But yeah, Russell Wilson's my ad of the week.
Let Gary jump in first there. He's dying to go.
I mean, I'm going to find a way to hate because he's a Steeler, obviously. But I think especially – he played good. Besides that, like, first quarter and a half. He didn't really play that good that first half. But he looked really, really good the second half. But I will mention that if you're a stat sheet watcher, you were loving seeing that he had 264 because I saw two instances where he just threw up moon balls and they like bounced off of a couple of hands. I think one bounced off a defender's helmet and it was caught by Pickens. Maybe a little lucky there, but I'm gonna find a way to hate because he's a Steeler. But no, he played pretty good. So definitely, if he's there on your waiver wire, I think you got to get him because I think it's going to be tough for the Steelers to go back now on, especially after what they just watched.
Yeah. I think he's the number one at the QB position on the waivers. I think he's the best pick. There's not much more. You kind of said it all, Fernando, I suppose, and Gary chimed in, I suppose, in a good way. Hey, he was good. He was really good. I don't think Justin Fields gets this job back just because he has the rushing upside right now. I don't think that's enough. Russ kind of showed his all days from Seattle. Now, if he does go back to his Denver days, then yeah, you can see how Justin Fields is going to come back in here. But right now, as Tomlin said after the game, he's there he gets paid well to make big decisions. And right now it worked. So I think they'll go with him. And he's definitely a guy against the Giants. If it's super flex league or something like that, you play him as your super flex QB, one QB, I'll be happy to play him too. So I think he's a good pickup.
Yeah. Honestly, shout out to Mike Tomlin. I mean, that guy knows how to win somehow, some way. He pulls it out.
Guys know how to play for him. They know how to play.
They really do. We got a question in the comments. Michael Chapp, he says, hey guys, do I trade Jahmyr Gibbs for Justin Jefferson? My other running backs are Aaron Jones, Madison, and Nick Chubb. My wide receivers are Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Chris Olave. I can try and get Justin Jefferson and trade Olave for an RV2. I'm all in on it. Jahmyr Gibbs obviously got a lot of goal line work because David Montgomery got hurt. So Gibbs got a little bit more goal line work than he's usually used to. But I think with Montgomery being healthy again, he should be good and get more of that goal line again. I'm fine. I think Justin Jefferson's good. You have Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, and then Nico when he's back. Those are 3 solid wide receivers. I would trade away Olave as well, like you mentioned, for an RB2. I like it.
I think it's a coin flip because either way you're left short. That's the way I look at it. You get rid of Gibbs, I think you're short-handed at running back. And if you don't do the trade, I think regardless of Olave being healthy or not, he's not in the picture for me with the quarterback situation there. Nico Collins is obviously, gone from another 2 games. So for the quality of JJ, I think I'd pull the plug, but you just got to be, careful with your RBs there. I mean, you need to be on the waiver wire and trying to get someone else or make another trade. But I think I'd do it.
I'm a Gibbs guy. Everybody,
I'm a Gibbs.
Goodness. I'm a Gibbs guy too, guys.
Here's the thing. I watched the entire Lions and Vikings game, right? And I just looked at the box score to see exactly what it was. Gibbs only got 15 rushes. Even Montgomery only missed like a quarter. Like he really wasn't out for that long. Gibbs had 2 touchdowns. One of them was a 50-yarder. So it's not like, the Lions drove down there and then just relied on Gibbs to get that touchdown and punch it in. I mean, it was a great play. And then he had an 8-yarder later on. So again, it's not like they were like down to the 2-yard line and they just punched it in with them. I think that Gibbs is a spectacular player. And I'm like looking at your team right now. Those running backs don't amaze me without Gibbs. I think Aaron Jones is solid for sure. Madison is the definition of a hit or miss. And Chubb, obviously, I love Chubb as a Browns fan, but the injury status just is always.
He got goal line work.
Back of my mind. He did. But also, let's look at the rest of his game. He only had 11 rushes, but 11 for 22. The offensive line is not good at all. So Chubb is definitely a worry for me. And I think your wide receiver room is already stacked. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. It's definitely enticing because of JJ is such a big name. But personally, I wouldn't.
I'm personally fine with Madison. Aaron Jones is all right. And then Nick Chubb, maybe I think he'll get back to his normal self. We said that he would take a couple of weeks to really get back into the groove of things. But Madison, we're going to talk about in a little bit, maybe in the waivers, But I'm all in. I'm all in on it. I would do it. I mean, I'm a person that does like Gibbs as well. But hey, if you can get a wide receiver 1 in Jay Jettas, I'm down for it. Keith, who is your waiver wire quarterback of the week?
I went for Tua this week. Obviously, we have to watch the reports throughout the week, but he's going to be back in practice. I think he's got a good matchup against the Cards. He said he didn't feel any issues since the day after, he got concussed and all that. I'm expecting him to come back and be Tua, normal Tua. I think he's a good play this week. The Cards defense sucks. Justin Herbert didn't take advantage of it last night, to be honest, but every other team has. So I think he's a good pickup this week, but just monitor the injury reports throughout the week.
Agreed. If Tua stays healthy this game, then I think Tyreek Hill owners are going to be so happy. Finally get back that week 1 production from Tyreek Hill. I think it's impossible to keep Tua Tagovailoa on a waiver wire. Obviously, his injury history is there, but even if you're a guy who likes keeping backup quarterbacks, why not? I mean, he makes the Dolphins' offense completely different when he plays.
Yeah, I mean, Tua finished as a top 10 quarterback in week 1. Obviously, he had the injury in week 2, put up 8.5 points in that week before the injury. If Tua is back to what he says normal and ready to go, I'm in on Tua. I think he can, again, be that guy, but he's got to make sure he doesn't scramble a lot and make sure he gets down before. I actually do like the pick, Keith. I didn't realize he was under 70% owned. I figured people would just
6%. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm honestly really surprised. Tyler in the chat saying thoughts on Rashad Bateman. Now, Bateman, he did have a great night last night. He did have 4 receptions, 121 yards, 22.1 points, wide receiver 3 of the week. I'm going to be honest. I think Bateman's all right, but I don't think he's Lamar's top target. He got most of the yards on that big chunk play for that touchdown. You take it all away, he's kind of irrelevant again. And he's getting you the average of 11 to 15 points a week. I think at most, this is kind of the ceiling that you're going to get from him. I think the floor is maybe, again, 2-3 points. It's kind of a hit or miss on it.
I actually like Bateman. I had him down in my notes as one to mention after I was done the wide receiver section, so it's good that it came up. He's been struggled with injuries, since he came into the league, but I actually like the talent. I think he's got more deep threat for these Ravens, like the big play, like you said, Fernando. I think he's getting more involved each week. I'll take 11 to 15 if he's worth. You're going to be putting him in as a flex. I don't think he's worth any more than that. So I think if you're getting somewhere between 11 and 15 in your flex, I think you're happy with that. So the way the wide receiver position has gone this season, it's decimated. It's usually so deep, but like if you're in a 12-team league plus, you're struggling. So I think he's on most waiver wires. I wouldn't be afraid to go pick him up.
I don't know. Bateman's like wide receiver 1 in Baltimore right now. Like it makes no sense. Zay Flowers is just gone or he's there. That's it. If he gets like 50 yards in the first half, then he's gonna go for 100. If he gets like 30 in the first half, he's not going to get another catch for the rest of the game. I'm a Zay Flowers owner, and it makes me so angry watching these Ravens games because I feel like Zay Flowers is such a nice weapon to have, but Lamar loves throwing to Bateman. I don't really get it. I used to be a big Bateman fan once he first came into the league and joined the Ravens.
Yeah, me too.
But he showed flashes, but he did deal with some injuries, so his time there was cut short, I guess, to start his career. Right now, I guess Lamar loves him. Tyler, you mentioned Bateman has had 6 to 8 targets the past 3 or 4 games. I also saw that. So I think Bateman is a good shout here. Lamar loves throwing to him, I guess. So I don't think he's a bad pickup if he's on the waiver wire.
He's only caught 4 receptions in the most each and every week. At the very most, 4 receptions, 3 straight weeks. I think he's a good flex play this week with Cleveland. Obviously, Cleveland, it's a good match for wide receivers. I'm fine starting him in my flex, but definitely not more than just a flex play. Gary, who is your guy to round out the QB waiver wire of the week?
My quarterback's Bo Nix. We've talked about him the past couple times, I believe. He's really just here because of his matchup next week versus Carolina. He didn't really have a good fantasy game last week, but that's just because the game script was so bad. They blew out the Saints. So I'm not going to pin that on him whatsoever. But the Panthers defense is garbage, and they're a team that gives up solid rushing numbers to quarterbacks. And Bo Nix is coming fresh off of his best rushing game as a quarterback. Last week against the Saints, he had 10 carries for 75 yards. I think you got to look for him to do the same versus Carolina.
Yeah, I think it's an intriguing pick this week. Obviously, Bo Nix, we've talked about him multiple times now. I think, Gary, he's been mainly your guy this year for the quarterbacks to talk about. Bo Nix is all right. I don't hate the pick. Again, Carolina, it's a good matchup like you mentioned. The only concern is with no buys this week, are you starting him over any of the top 10 quarterbacks?
Right. Probably not.
Yeah. But in a super flex, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
It's a matchup, pick.
Exactly.
I actually like Bo Nix. I know you're not. Funny enough, you're not a big fan, Gary, but you've picked him probably the most on the pod. But I actually think he'll do well this week. He could definitely get between 18 and 20. Like you said, Gary, the Panthers defense is just might as well just not put any players out there because they're not doing anything. I think Bo Nix can run for whatever he wants this week. He can throw for whatever he wants, and he'll do well.
I think Bo Nix is quarterback 14 or something like that. So in your Superflex leagues, he's got to be on a roster.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, I think in one of my Superflex leagues I started him this past week.
Yeah.
So Russell Wilson, Tua Tagovailoa, and Bo Nix rounding out our QB waiver wire ads of the week. Before we go on to our quick running backs, Tyler once again with a quick question: Kate Otten or Tyler Ferguson? I think it's a consensus pick here. I'm going Cade Otton, and we'll talk more about him in the waivers for the tight ends. but I'm all in on Otten.
Yeah, I'll be talking. I might as well just give it away.
Yep.
He's my guy. I'll be talking later about Otten, but it's
Yeah.
Otten for sure.
Yeah, I'll see Otten.
Perfect. All right, let's get into the running backs. And Keith, who are you going to go over the hill to the waiver wire store and get?
Yeah, I didn't like what was out there, and I just
I
took
didn't
up Justice Hill, deep league guy. He's up and down. Had a good week this week. It was all about the targets: 3 targets, 3 receptions, 44 yards, 1 touchdown. I think he had a yard or something on the ground, nothing major. He got 13 fantasy points this week. With no bye weeks, you're not going to need him. But I mean, depth piece. If you're playing in 14 teamers or something like that, you're going to need these type of guys. They will be valuable at some stage going forward on bye week. So didn't like what was out there. Thought Justice Hill was kind of the best of what I've seen other than what you guys picked.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the guys I would have thrown in there, and I think I have in one of the past weeks. I stated that the running backs could honestly be a worse spot than the tight ends in waivers. Genuinely, it's really bad.
Yeah.
None of these guys, just a disclaimer to everybody watching, none of these guys are guys that you're going to want to start multiple weeks in a row. Just guys that would fill in. I think Justice Hill is a good example of that because you see how much of a hit or miss player he is. Last night he had that long touchdown. I think the past 2 weeks he hadn't really done anything. And then, or the game against Buffalo or whatever it was, he had 25 points or something like that. So I think that he's a great shout here. Not a guy that you had said, Keith, he's not going to be a guy that you're going to need this week. But going forward, he might be a guy that you need against defenses that give up air yards to running backs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate the pick, actually. It's just whether or not the Ravens are leading. If they're leading a lot, will they just run it with Derrick Henry? Because personally, you don't see a lot of rushing attempts from Justice Hill, but you see a lot of targets for Justice Hill. And that's the thing. If Lamar has to throw it and Justice Hill is in there, he's going to throw it to Justice Hill. I mean, Justice Hill has had six targets, 8 targets, and then this past week, 3 targets plus a score. So it's another thing to keep in mind. Obviously, Justice Hill finishes the RB8 one of the past weeks, but he's finished double digits in 3 of the 7 weeks. So I'm intrigued. If you're in a deep league, Justice Hill is a good pickup, and if you're starting 2 flex players, I mean, Justice Hill is a good dart throw on the flex.
Yeah, the only thing I would throw in for this week, they are against Gary's Browns. So I do think there will be garbage time, which will suit Hill because he will be in the game more than Henry, I think.
Yeah, exactly. If they're leading by a lot, they might just pull the starters, and there goes Justice Hill's value going up. Gary, who is your guy?
My guy is Browns running back Browns Legends running back Dearness Johnson. I mean, like I mentioned, the running backs could be worse than the tight ends. This is just really, really bad. But I saw Dearness sitting there because we all watched the game that happened in London. He got some air yards, 3 passes for 32 yards. I think the game script's always going to be there for him because I think they're going to be. I mean, it wasn't really a good example here against New England, but they're always going to be down probably. So, they might go with their 2-minute drive running back, which probably is Dearness Johnson. I think as long as Travis Etienne is out, which who knows how long that's going to be, but he does have a hamstring injury, which often lingers. So I think the game script's always going to be there for Dearness Johnson. He got 10 points this week. That might be the best he gets this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if he sits around that 8 to 10 point range in games like this.
I was very shocked. I think someone on Twitter was saying to start Tank, but I don't know. I thought Johnson, when I was in London watching the game, I thought Dearness Johnson was doing better than any of the running backs there. My only concern is I think I'm staying away from all of Jacksonville's running backs because of the fact you can't trust any of them just yet. 1 week we might have Tank doing really good. 1 week we might have Dearness Johnson. If Etienne comes back, does he become the RB2 from last year that we used to see? Does he get traded? Trade deadline's coming up. Does he get traded? Could be an option. So I'm staying away from anyone on Jacksonville, but I think if you need anyone besides Etienne, it might be Johnson personally.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is talented. I was surprised that the Browns let him go.
I know. Yeah.
It's a Browns move.
He was even when he was even when he like got his spot starts, he did well. I'm a bit on your side in terms of can you trust him? I still think Tank Bixby, regardless of it, Ian is proven that he should be, in the game. I think while Etienne's out, I think Dearness definitely should be owned. I think it's going to be a Justice Hill thing. This week you probably don't need him. Going forward, you're going to need him, especially in deep leagues. So I definitely think you go pick him up, especially if you've got a spot in your bench where you can just put him there. Wait for this week. And then he will be relevant, I think, going forward.
I'll go with my guy to round out the running back ads of the week. And I was really surprised to see this guy in the waivers under 70% owned. This guy's 63% owned. Now, he's not the guy that you want to go and get. He's not like this big name guy, but he did have a couple seasons where he was good. This guy is right now an RB2, and that is Alexander Mattison. Now, again, we talked about how in the past years, I was a big Zamir White guy. And then coming into this year, doing the stats and everything, I was actually fading Zamir White. And this is why Zamir White has not earned the job, and Alexander Mattison has looked good. The guy has finished as a top 24 running back in 4 of the 7 weeks. That's pretty good. And the past 3 weeks, he's finished double digits. And this past week, he had a season high of 23 rushing attempts, 92 yards. And, he continues to see the targets. He's actually only dropped 3 targets out of, I don't know, he's got a lot of targets, but he's only dropped like 3 of them. So that's pretty good personally. He's getting, not only is he getting the rushing work, but he's getting the receiving work. And now Gardner Minshew, of course, is going to be in for 4 to 6 weeks with Aiden O'Connell being out. I'm in on it even more because Gardner Minshew looked at Alexander Mattison in the passing game. He was the dump off guy. So I think out of all 3 of our running backs, I think this guy is the top running back out of the week for the waivers.
Yeah, maybe, but the song you like, Hot and Cold? This guy is like the definition of hot and cold. I mean, he had his chance last year to prove that he could be this Belko back and couldn't do it at all. So, I mean, I don't really disagree with your statement that he's probably the best one out of the 3. He probably is, but that kind of shows you how bad, like Gary was saying, that the running back waivers are. Like, it's just there's nothing out there. Take your chance with him. I just think like he could get you 15 points, but he could get you 3. I just don't have any trust in him. It's kind of a last year thing. I was kind of big on him to say like, right, here's your chance. And he kind of blew up. So I would like to see more consistent production before I say, yeah, right, this is a guy you can plug and play every week.
Agreed. I don't. The thing is, like, I'm a fan of Madison, and I was when he was in Minnesota. But I think we saw this exact thing. He would have like a good game, put up like 15 to 20 points, and the next 2 would be for like 8. And you'd be like on the fringe of starting him. Like the following week, you'd be like, what am I going to get? Am I going to get that 20-point week? Am I going to get that 8, 10-point week? You might be okay with that 8 to 10-point week as a guy that you need to fill in for a bye, but is he going to start every week? Probably not. I have him in a league or 2. I haven't started him once just due to the fact that I really don't know what I'm going to get out of Madison. He could be that guy that just blows up because I think that he's in a role where he can. We'll just see what happens going forward.
I just want to mention one thing. He has finished double digits 5 of the first 7 weeks of the season. The 2 times he finished with only 6 points, that was under 10 points of his threshold bar. But those weeks, he wasn't really rushing that much. It was Zamir White who was running the offense. So this past 3 weeks, he's been more in the offense, and he's been getting more work in the starting reps over Zamir White, and that's why I'm in on him.
Fair enough.
Okay. Our running back ads of the week: Alexander Mattison, Justice Hill, and Gary's Dearness Johnson. Of course, before we go into the waivers, tactical saying, thoughts on Fernando's fantasy loss this week?
First one, is it? First one?
It is. It very much is.
The streak came to an end. You and the Vikings, eh?
Unfortunate. But it's okay. It's okay. You can't win them all. I thought this week was going to be the week I was going to go 7-0 in our listener league. Unfortunately, it just didn't work. Aaron ended up getting a little bit better. I was watching the highlights, and of course, I was just praying for Rashad White's downfall, and of course, he scored 2 touchdowns. I was like, well, I definitely lost this week. So.
Well, just have another one. I'm close behind you, waiting for you just to fall, Fernando.
Yeah, I think we're all doing pretty solid in that.
Yeah,
I'm doing the worst out of you guys.
Gary, you've come back. You've come back. You're 4-3. You started the season rough, though.
I did.
You started this.
But like I said, how it's exactly how it is with the records that we'll get to obviously later segment in the show. Not about how you start. It's about how you finish.
My team is starting to crumble though, so I don't know how much longer. I lost Godwin. I lost.
Glad.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate your help. I lost Godwin. Collins is on IR. Pacheco's on IR, so I just have to keep going until they come back.
Who do I face this week? I face Moonshine University. So we'll see who that happens. Tactical's praying for your downfall or my downfall. I think both of our downfalls. He's sitting 3rd right now.
Well, he said I'm praying he loses this week again, so that's you. I won.
Well, he's praying you lose too, so he can jump some spots. He's currently 3rd place, right with the same record as you actually. So let's go into our wide receivers, and Gary, we'll start with your guy.
My guy's Jalen McMillan. I think it's just pretty self-explanatory, just due to the fact that Godwin's done for the year, and Evans, we don't really know what his timetable is going to be yet, but I'm expecting him to at least miss a week or two, just due to the fact that hamstring injuries always linger. He's a wide receiver too when Evans plays, and will probably be the wide receiver 1 when he's out. And I think that regardless if Evans is playing or not, Tampa Bay is going to continue to be that high-caliber offense, and they're going to continue to throw. Last night he saw 8 targets. I think that he could get that and more if he's the wide receiver 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm McLovin this pick because I think with the 2 players being out for an extended period of time, Godwin, of course, like you mentioned, out for the season, and then I do expect Evans. He's got to miss maybe a week, if not more than that, at least a week. So that means wide receiver 1, is it McMillan or is it Sterling Shepard? Which is the question. Which personally, I think, as much as I'd like to say Sterling Shepard because he's the vet guy, the guy sucks. Let's go with McLovin. McMillan is definitely my guy on that.
Yeah, I mean, going by this week, McMillan was still very much involved with all 3 on the field. So it makes sense that he should be the guy going forward. Sterling Shepard, like a bit of a Giants legend when they were terrible for a while. But I mean, if you were going to take one of the Bucs wide receivers, it has to be him.
Yeah. So good pick on that. I will go with my guy, and I changed my guy last second. It was Cedric Tillman originally, but it's a Cleveland guy.
Why did you change it?
It's a Cleveland guy. I don't know if I can go with a Cleveland guy, but he's definitely a good guy to throw out in your waivers if you need another wide receiver. I do not mind Cedric Tillman. He looks like he's going to be the guy stepping up with Amari Cooper's absence there now. So I'm not saying that he's a bad pick and all that. Definitely go pick him up in the waivers. But I had to go with a guy who we just heard his teammate tore his ACL and MCL. Keith is going to hate this pick, but I don't care. For a guy that was shot 2 months ago, he is the healthiest wide receiver right now in that locker room. Yeah. Ricky Pearsall is my guy. And, he had himself an okay week. He had 5 targets, 3 receptions, 21 yards. It's not that many points, 5.1 fantasy points. Now he's 25% owned. He's going against Dallas. Dallas sucks. The defense sucks. I think Ricky Pearsall is going to be a definition of wide receiver 2 for the rest of the season. I want to say Juwan Jennings is going to be the wide receiver 1 if Debo misses time. But I don't see Juwan Jennings really being the guy to step up like we saw that 1 week where he blew up for 40-plus points.
Well, we might as well just start with my guy since it's Juwan Jennings. I think you're wrong on that. I think Juwan Jennings is going to be the guy if he's healthy. And if Debo's there, he's going to be the wide receiver 2. I mean, he was more relevant than Ayuk through the opening weeks, regardless of that big week. And of Pearsall was, getting healthy and coming back. Who's talented? Probably who's the more talented, is probably Ricky Pearsall. But I mean, who's already got the connection with Birdie, who's proved it the last few weeks, well healthy, Juwan Jennings. So I'd rather trust what I've seen and go with Juwan Jennings.
I don't think either guy's here are a bad shout. I wouldn't lean Jennings just due to the fact that outside of that, even outside of that 40-point majestic performance, he's averaging 6 targets a game. So I think that's only going to increase. Purdy seems to love him, so I kind of randomly. So I think that connection is going to be there once he's fully healthy. So I would probably lean towards Jennings, but I like both the picks here.
The draft capital they spent on Ricky Pearsall, I'd be shocked if they don't incorporate him more in the offense.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, they will, yeah. But they can't make Purdy throw to him either, though. So
no, they can't. But I think Ricky will be the guy over Juwan Jennings. Sorry, Keith.
No, it's all good. I want to know why, and I say Gary is curious too. Give us your Tillman update or what happened to Tillman. So you might as well give us a spiel on him.
12 targets last game. Come on.
Yeah, you know what? I'm telling you, I did like him a lot. He finished as the top 10 wide receiver. 12 targets, 8 receptions, 81 yards. The guy didn't even get into a touchdown, and he was the wide receiver 10. Here's my only big concern. Who's the quarterback there? And that's the biggest concern because quarterbacks, they have the favorite wide receivers. There is no top wide receiver in Cleveland. Sorry, Gary, again, but there is no top wide receiver there.
Something I already know.
So is it going to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Is it going to be Jameis Winston? Is it going to be Bailey Zappi? I mean, who in the world is going to be the quarterback in Cleveland? We don't know, really. So until we figure out who the rest of the season starter, man, don't you guys wish you had Joe Flacco? Can I just say?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't understand getting rid of him and then signing Jameis for the exact same money that Flacco got. But I think also if you're Kevin Stefanski and you just saw the ending of that last game, how do you not start Jameis? It makes absolutely no sense to me. But it is such a Kevin Stefanski / Browns-esque thing to do, to throw in the guy that also got hurt last week in DTR, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, that's the problem with the quarterbacks. Like, if Jameis Winston is, I think he's the best quarterback on the roster, and I think you have to start him personally. But does he have the connection with Tillman? Will he continue the connection with Tillman?
Who knows? But if you want to give the Browns fans at least a bit of fun, I'm not going to say they're win or anything, but if you want to give the Browns a bit of fun, you start Winston. Because he could have 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in one game, and it would just be a bonkers game, and you wouldn't care if you end up losing, but you'd actually enjoy a Browns game.
That's why I said I'm ready to watch for the vibes. I want to have fun. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and just on Tillman, I think he's talented. By the way, I do think he's talented. He's just on the wrong offense right now, but I actually do think he's talented.
Yeah, I think he's talented too. I mean, again, I'm intrigued. I like Tillman. I think he's going to be one of the top waiver wire ads of the week for wide receiver personally because of his production that he just got. But now it just comes on to the question of what happens with the quarterbacks. Because if he does continue doing what he did this past week, he could be a league winner off the waivers.
Yeah.
Even if Cleveland's that bad, Quick question from Joseph. Trade Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave for Amari Cooper and T. Higgins, full of PPR.
It's not a trade I like to do. It's all the same positions for start.
Exactly.
I think people are starting to panic on Garrett Wilson. Watch him get more space now because of Devontae Adams being covered by the top corner. I wouldn't panic on Garrett Wilson. Yeah, I mean, T. Higgins is balling right now, and he got the upside in Cooper, but I think Garrett Wilson, could do a job.
Yeah.
What's crazy is T. Higgins is the best guy here, right now. But I don't think it's going to be that way for much longer. I completely agree with you, Keith. Garrett Wilson's going to get so much love from Rodgers. I think a majority of the games more than Adams because he's just going to have so much more room to work. We saw last week against the Steelers, Devontae Adams getting doubled like every other play, and Rodgers went to Wilson a lot.
Yep.
Just so happened that Garrett Wilson lets a ball bounce off his chest and it's picked off going the other way. We already know how Rodgers feels about wide receivers dropping his passes. So
exactly. I like Garrett Wilson, and I like Amari Cooper. T. Higgins again, not too bad. I think I'd rather keep Garrett Wilson, maybe try and trade Olave for another wide receiver and running back or something. But again, like he said, don't trade for position type of players. Let's go into our tight ends, of course. Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, Jalen McMillan, our top ads of the week for wide receivers. Now, I will go with my guy who I talked about last week, and that is Mr. Hunter Henry. I think he's right now the top tight end over the past 2 weeks in scores. I mentioned last week, Drake May likes to throw to him. He is a safety blanket, and Drake May looked amazing. I mean, shockingly to say that's coming out of my mouth because I wasn't a believer in Drake May, but Hunter Henry, he looked good. 9 targets, 8 receptions. He's finished as a top 6 tight end over the last 2 weeks, 30 points between those 2 weeks. He is going against the Jets, who have an all right defense, but again, Hunter Henry right now, the tight end 6 overall. I think he's a guy that's going to continue to see targets, and he's going to be another guy that you might see go into the end zone again.
Yep, I like him. I mean, he's always very consistent, no matter who's a quarterback, because he's just that safety blanket for whoever's there. So, yeah, don't mind grabbing him. I think I was looking through the tight ends, and I'd much rather, I think you said it, Gary, much rather play under a tight end than have to pick some of the running backs. So, yeah, Hunter Henry is a good pickup.
Yeah, he's a solid guy for sure. I think I had mentioned that him and May were going to have a good connection going into this game in London, just because I think that, May needs that security blanket, and I feel like Hunter Henry has been that for literally his entire career. I think he's going to be there all year for May. I think that connection is going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, agreed. Quick question from All Talk Sports. Time to give up on Ramondre. He just put up 4.5. What'd you say, Gary?
No,
he's way too talented.
Yeah, I think he's talented. I think you got to start him. I think you have to in hopes. I think if he has another dud week, then maybe it's time to bench him. But again, don't drop him.
Like that Jermichael Hasty touchdown, like everyone thought that was Ramondre. The hair, it was 1 number higher or something on his back. I was like, that was a killer for anybody like me that had Ramondre, because everybody was thinking it was Ramondre. So, I mean, that's not going to happen many weeks, I don't think, and I would hope anyways not going forward. That would be Ramondre, in future.
Yep. Yeah, it makes no sense to me. I feel like I'm a big Ramondre guy. I feel like he's by far the most talented quarterback or running back in that room. How do you not give him more opportunities for the Patriots? It just makes no sense to me.
This thing about not having a cowbell back is fine, but if you're not a good team and you have a stud, what do? You just keep feeding him the ball and at least make Drake May's life easier for him.
Exactly.
I mean, I just don't get it.
Yeah. Keith, who is your tight end of the week?
I mean, the guy I bring up every week, but he keeps getting better. Kate Otten. I mean, going back to, was it Tyler earlier? Yes, you play Kate Otten over a lot of tight ends right now. 10 targets, 8 receptions, 100 yards. This guy is going to be, he's already a favorite of Baker's, and it's just going to increase, I think, now with Godwin being out. If Evans is out, we're thinking at least 1 week. Kate Otten's going to be the feature of this offense, I think, outside of, whatever they do at running backs. You're starting him over most. I mean, I'm starting him over Freiermuth if I can get him. I'm starting him over Ferguson. All these guys, like I like Freiermuth, and I don't mind Ferguson. The production's not been there this year really so far for Ferguson. But Auden, I mean, there's not many tight ends right now that you do start over.
Yeah, I like it, and it's for the same reason that I like McMillan. I mean, these top 2 guys go down. Who knows how long for Mike Evans? But here Godwin's gone for the year, so those targets got to go somewhere. And Godwin was on pace for a career year, so there's a lot of targets. I agree. Baker loves Kate Otten so far, so I think that production is only going to increase.
I actually do love Otten too. I think again, like you mentioned, Godwin. I think was he not going into this week wide receiver 1?
Yeah, 1 or 2, something like that.
Yeah. So I think the targets are going to have to go somewhere, and it's going to be McMillan and it's going to be Otten. So I think those are going to be the top guys that are going to see the targets and production. And Otten is going to be owned, I think, in over 70% of the league. Keith, you don't worry. You don't have to talk about him next week, I don't think.
I'll have to jump up a bit, but yeah, might have to talk to him. Might need to change my tight end for once.
Yeah, maybe. But no, I like it. I like it a lot. Quick question from Pareko. Trade Brees for Neighbors and Pollard, or trade Brees and Jefferson for Dobbs, Dak, and Derrick Henry in a super flex league. I'm 2-5, and my QBs are Mahomes and Richardson. I don't think you're really getting an upgrade on quarterbacks with Dak, who's right now the QB 20, I believe. Derrick Henry is great. He is the RB1, but again, you have Brees, who is the RB4 right now. So I'm fine keeping Brees, but if you have to do one of these trades, I'd rather do Brees for Neighbors and Pollard. Maybe go get something. Try and trade 2-piece for Pollard and someone else for another better running back.
Yeah, if I have to do one, I'm doing the Neighbors Pollard, but you've got your conundrum and the headaches of Daniel Jones. And then if he gets benched, you have Drew Lock, and you already had Neighbors complaining this week he was wide open. So on these trades, I'm keeping Brees.
Yeah, I'm not doing either of these, but would agree if, you're doing one of them, then it would be the first one.
Yeah. Gary, who is your tight end to round out the waivers this week?
My tight end, Zach Ertz. He's 42% owned and just had 14 points last week. He caught his first touchdown of the season. I don't know. It's just the same thing we see all week with the tight end position. The waiver wire, it's dead. But he's sitting here. He's currently tight end 9, so, should be rostered in any 10-plus team leagues. Obviously, the position ranks for tight ends change or vary every week, and they vary drastically just due to the fact that most tight ends probably get 5 points and you have one that goes for 25. So that could very much change. But as of right now, I think you got to go get him. And we just saw Evan Ingram have a great week against Chicago's defense in London 2 weeks ago. So could do it again, maybe Zach Ertz.
Yeah, I like Zach Ertz. I've mentioned him a couple times in the waivers this season. He's been a guy that I've plugged in and played. I mean, I think he's been one of my starters for the whole season right now in one of my redraft leagues, which sounds terrible, but I mean, he's been producing. So I mean, that's been the biggest thing. He's producing over 7-8 points, and that's all you could ask for a tight end, really.
Yep. I mean, I like him. He's been Daniel's kind of safety blanket. Now we're moving on to Mariota potentially this week, but he scored a touchdown with him last week. So I don't see any issue not plugging him in and play. Yeah.
Hunter Henry, Kate Otten, and Zach Ertz, our top tight end ads of the week. Quick question in the chat by Big Mac Brad. Would you guys rather have Geno or Tua rest of the season? I have Waddle, so considering the stack. Keith, since Tua was your guy, are you sticking with Tua for the season?
Yep, Tua, and move on. I think this one's fairly easy for me. I know Geno's my guy in terms of my team, but Tua's the way better. Once he stays healthy, he's a lock, and having the stack with Waddle is nice.
Yeah, Tua, assuming he stays healthy.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with either one since Geno is the QB6 right now. So I'm fine with Geno, but again, if Tua does stay healthy, like we all three of us said, Tua for the rest of the season. Gatlin Elder, trade Tucker Kraft, Deontay Johnson for Jaden Daniels. I'm desperate for QB, and Anthony Richardson is my starting QB. He doesn't value JD very much. He has been on the bench all season. He needs a wide receiver with Dak and Olave hurt. Also needs a tight end. I mean, you could go for it, but I think maybe try and get rid of Anthony Richardson as well. Maybe instead of getting rid of Kraft or Deontay, maybe what if you do Richardson and Deontay for Jaden Daniels? I'd be fine with that.
I'd leave it the way it is. I think you're getting value. I mean, you're trading away Kraft and Deontay for Jaden Daniels. I mean, all right, you're expecting Daniels maybe to miss this week, potentially. That's what it looked like. But, I mean, for the rest of the season, I'm a big Daniels guy, so I'm all over this. Deontay's not happy there. The Panthers suck. Kraft, he's been doing really well. He's kind of a surprise at the tight end position, but I think for me, the kind of the boom of Daniels and what he can provide you every week is too much. I think I'd rather have him.
I agree. This is kind of like a weird trade to look at, but I would definitely do it if I'm getting Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tucker Kraft is having a great start to the year, but will this continue throughout the year? Who knows? Probably not. Deontay, the same thing. Started out pretty solidly with Andy Dalton, but so far, like the past week or two, I don't know. So we'll see if that can keep up, but I doubt it. So I would also go with Jaden Daniels, and it's not really close.
Yeah, and what just mentioned Bowers is Titan.
Yeah,
I mean, you have the tight end one, like
yeah,
pretty much. So like you're good. Get Daniels.
You need the upgrade in quarterback. You got to go for Jaden Daniels. So I'm in on it. All right. Well, we're down to our final segment of the day, Thursday.
Harry's favorite segment.
Night football, Vikings and Rams. Over under 48.5 points. It's scheduled to be a high scoring game. So I guess we'll have to see what happens in Thursday Night Football. Rams, they've only scored, I think their highest this season was 24 points. So not that good. They've been averaging around that 20 mark. So again, over under, I think personally pretty high, but I think we got to talk about records and all. And I think before I put the music back on, I think we got to all cheer for Gary. For the first week in a row, first week he got, not only did he get the team right, but he got the over-under this season right. He's now 1-6. 5-9 record for Gary, sitting at the bottom. He's only 2 wins away from coming up towards me. I'm still staying at 500, 7-7, and Keith went 0-2 last week, but he's still cruising 9-5 record. So, Keith, I'll ask you, who is your guy? I mean, who is your team this week?
I'm going the Vikings this week. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. I don't think they'll get the over. So I'm going the Vikings 23-20 and obviously hitting the under.
I think I'm going to pull this deficit one game closer. I'm going to go Vikings and the over. I'm going to say 30-20 Vikings. I don't honestly see this total being a far-fetched total at all. The Vikings offense is nutty right now, and honestly, the Rams haven't been terrible. I think that Cooper Kupp has a chance to come back this week, I believe.
Yeah.
So if he does, that's a completely different offense. So.
Speaking of, you just mentioned Cooper Kupp. I meant to say it earlier. Cooper Kupp, the Rams have stated that they are open to trading him.
Wow.
So,
Chiefs.
Tua stock.
Chiefs, imagine.
Yeah. Chiefs, I'm telling you.
That would be crazy.
That'd be wild. But yeah, all right. You picked the Vikings, and you took the over, right, Gary?
I did, 30-20.
Well, based on your 14% hit rate on the over-unders, it's only good to go on the opposite of what you pick. I'm going to go 2019 Vikings. I think it's going to be more of a low scoring affair. And I think we're going to get the under this time. So Gary, you're just going to split it this week, unfortunately. If you go over and you go 2-0, hey, congrats to you. But we do have the Vikings sweeping here. All of us picking the Vikings, Keith 23-20, Gary 30-20, and myself 20-19. Before we end the show, one more quick question from Gatlin. What do you think about Cooper Kupp, Jordan Mason for Jamar Chase? Can I get him? Or should I offer Cooper Kupp and BTJ? Why can't I think of who BTJ is? Brian Thomas Jr.?
He's just been going off recently, I guess.
Yeah.
I think you try for Cooper Kupp and Jordan Mason for Jamar. Personally, in my opinion. If you can't, then by all means, go for Cooper Kupp and Brian Thomas Jr. But Brian Thomas has been producing, just an FYI. I don't mind keeping him. It's just the Kupp situation. Does he stay healthy when he comes back?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you start. I'd never, in trades, never show your full hand first. That's the way I look at it. So, start with Kupp and Mason and then work your way up. But definitely try it. I wouldn't put you off. Just on Brian Thomas Jr., he is going under the radar, in my opinion. He's having a great season so far. Just to throw it out there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Honestly, if if he doesn't want to do the first trade, I don't even know if I would offer the second one, to be completely honest with you. I think Brian Thomas has just been going ballistic for absolutely no reason. And who knows, when Cup comes back, he could produce very well, especially if he goes to a team like the Chiefs. I mean, we can just imagine that right now. So I don't know. I would probably offer the first one. If he doesn't take it, I might not even offer the second one. I might just say, you know what?
Yeah. On the first one, if you're working a deal and you're talking, you could definitely throw in about Cup being traded and Cup being back this week. Make sure that's the focus to try and sweeten it. That's what I do.
He mentioned how he has Amon-Ra and Cooper Kupp as well. I think personally, if you're looking for, you could go get Jamar, but do you really need Jamar? I think if you're going for, you go for a running back. If you get Jaden Daniels, the only person I know that's on your running back team is Jordan Mason, which I think you can upgrade. So I think if you trade Cooper Kupp for someone else for another running back, or even Cooper Kupp and Jordan Mason for a running back, I think you can get good value running back. Maybe Breece Hall.
I think you get like Mixon out of that too.
Yeah. Mixon's great. Kyron and Jordan Mason, but CMC's on IR. I think if CMC comes back, I think Jordan Mason's going to be not valuable. So try and trade him as much as you can now before it's too late.
Yeah.
Agree.
All right. Well, it was a little bit of a long show, but hey, we got it done, and that is going to do it this week for this week's show. Again, if you haven't done so already, go on Underdog Fantasy. Go use that code SportsTimeHQ. They're going to match your first deposit up to $100. And if you haven't done so already, go to TrophySmack.com/SportsTimeHQ, and you'll get yourself a trophy ring or a belt. The Celtics premiere tonight. That is it. They're going back to back, so you can
open it up with a loss.
You're gonna go back, back to back. They're gonna get a trophy, another trophy. You might as well get a trophy for your fantasy basketball league, but if you still need one for your fantasy football league or your baseball league that ended for the playoffs, Dodgers or the Yankees? Who are we saying here?
Oh,
Dodgers. I've got money on them. Plus, I don't want to see the Yankees win.
Dodgers all the way for sure. Of course, since I'm a Red Sox fan, you got to go against the Yankees. Go Dodge. But again, TrophySmack.com/SportsTimeHQ. If you still want to get and donate a Trophy Smack toilet bowl trophy to Gary, by all means, he's still sucking down on the bottom for our Thursday night football predictions. But I was joined by my great co-host, Keith. Go follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. Go follow Gary all over social media at GD Hicks. Again, if you want to watch our show, we're here every single week on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. After the show, we got yourself on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can go check us out after the show if you can't watch us on YouTube. But again, I'm your host, Fernando. I'm joined by my two great co-hosts. You can follow us all over social media at SportsTimeHQ. We'll see you all next Tuesday.